this is DJ CT, and welcome back to Rock Fight Radio, where today we're excited to share with you guessed it, the latest from Fitz. Here's a little taste of Fitz Like You, exclusively independent.
They said make 'em offshore, you'll make it big, but comfort don't come from some container gig. We stitch with soul, we stitch with pride, here in the States with roots on our side. These ain't just socks, they're standing fight for the mom and pops, keeping fitters right. We ain't on the shelf stacked high with the same, we're with the folks who remember your name. We're exclusively independent, yeah, we ride for the few, not the cheapest, just the realest. Knit tight for what you do, for the towns that keep the trails that thrive, and the rebels keeping dreams alive. Fit stand tall in the shops that care. If you want it real, you'll find us there. Fitz.
Check out all of the hits from Fitz on their Spotify playlist, and now, back to the show. Welcome to the Rock Fight, where we speak our truth, slay sacred cows, and sometimes agree to disagree. This is an outdoor podcast that aims for the head. I'm Colin, and today, it's finally here, because today we're previewing Switchback Spring. But before we get to that, tomorrow, Tuesday, you're going to get a new episode of Open Container with host Doug Schnitzbahn here on the Rock Fight Podcast Network. Doug's guest this week? Is that the Consigliere's music? You're goddamn right it is. Eoin Comerford is on Open Container this week. Check it out wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm officially overexposed. This is it. People are going to be so sick of me. That's it.
We're kicking you off the pods for a month for the rest of the summer. You're done after Comerford. Switchback.
Yeah.
And lastly, tomorrow's the day. If you'll be at Switchback, be sure to come hang out with producer Dave, Shantae, and overexposed Eoin and I during the Rock Fight Live at 5 o'clock in the Trailheads Theater. And be excited if you're not at Switchback, because this is the last time you'll have to hear this promotion. Hope to see you there. Stick around. We'll be right back. In the store aisles, a quiet revolution is happening. With Endeavor, frontline staff aren't just selling products, they're building trust, making connections, and turning browsers into loyal customers. Let's see how. He didn't know which brand he wanted, just that the trail ahead was rocky. But she knew, because she'd trained for this moment right on her phone. A quick conversation, a confident recommendation, and a perfect fit hiking boot later, he's ready for his trip. That's right, she's a... It may be lunchtime, but between sandwich bites, he learned about fog fighting tech and snow goggles. An hour later, that knowledge helped a customer pick the perfect pair and add a helmet too. Learning on the go, selling with certainty, adding value. Yup, he's a... Endeavor is a mobile-first platform that equips retail staff with training, incentives, and tools to boost sales and brand engagement. Brands gain insights, sell-through improves, while retail associates stay motivated. Ready to get started? Just head to endeavor.io, update your brand profile, and upload your dealer list to access the free features and, when you're ready, launch your first pay-as-you-go campaign. With flexible, scalable options, Endeavor turns everyday interactions into strategic wins. The result?
Be a shop floor hero. Endeavor's here to stay. Shop floor hero. Sell through is the way.
Okay, so I'm at my local outdoor shop and I see this hydration solution called Hydra Pack. Naturally, I assume it's for safely transporting a Hydra. You know, the mythical beast, regenerates heads, needs moisture. Makes sense, right? Turns out no, not even close. Hydra Pack isn't for monsters, it's for humans. Humans doing all kinds of cool stuff outside. Running, riding, climbing, through hiking, even just hiking, you name it. And it's not some glorified water bottle. We're talking about hydration experts who make a modular, reversible, PFAS-free hydration platform. We're talking high-flow bite valves, plug-and-play hose systems, collapsible, heat-resistant, ultra-durable TPU reservoirs that practically clean themselves. It's hydration tech so advanced, it might as well have been built for a mythical creature. I mean, did you know that over 90 of your favorite outdoor brands already think so? And they use Hydra Pack technology in their products. And get this, they even have a retirement program. Repack takes old bottles from any brand and gives them a second life. Circularity, no landfill, no dragon hoarding, and retailers, HydraPack is accepting new partners for their repack program, and this is something you definitely want to get on board with. So yeah, not a Hydra pack, but the legendary HydraPack. Learn more at hydrapack.com. And hey, if you're wondering how HydraPack and the Rock Fight got together, well, it was because of our mutual friends at Darby Communications, because finding incredible solutions to get a message out there, that's just what Darby does.
Colin, that sounds like actually a reason to bring back the action figures. Overexposed Eoin. Yeah,
Owen.
I think
no
so.
one, no one wants to see that.
We'll make an exception for action figures that feature Rock Fight personalities. That'll be the...
That's going to be fantastic.
All right, it's Monday, and I'm, as you heard here, with producer Dave and the consigliere to the Rock Fight, Eoin, Comerford, and guys after a year of waiting. And by the time the listeners are hearing this episode, we'll be in Nashville, along with Shantae Salabert, for the first day of Switchback Spring. How we feeling? You guys ready? How's Nashville? We're not there yet, but does it feel like we're there already?
I'm sure it's lovely. Yes.
We won't know because we'll be stuck inside the same building for 3 consecutive days.
I have my Dolly Parton autograph book.
Air.
I'm ready to go.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I'm wondering what the over-under of how many times Dave drops a Coco a reference today for the French Open. Are you going to go full tennis today, Dave? I figured you'd be excited. We haven't talked about
2 weeks ago.
Was it?
Are you kidding me?
Yes.
I'm already on to Wimbledon. Let's go.
I don't know, man. I don't pay attention to tennis. I just thought this was the opportunity you're going to have to talk
It's
about.
on clay. It's outside. It could be an outdoor event. You're so right.
See?
Right? I think the North Face in tennis should definitely try it.
Well, they got pickleball going. Maybe they should just move to the correct sport. Tennis.
Yes.
North Face has got pickleball?
Oh, I don't know. Do they? They probably do.
Oh, stop it. That's how blasphemous rumors get started.
Exactly.
Well, we'll see at the North Face booth
to see if there's pickleball.
Switchback. If they have the pickleball, if there's a literal pickleball corner in the North Face booth.
You know, I guess if the way the outdoor industry would do it, we'd actually just have cucumbers in the garden, in the organic garden that will soon be pickles.
I hope we get a cease and desist for the first time, and it's about, you said we had pickleball. We do not have pickleball.
We do not.
We do not.
Look,
no,
how dare you?
North Face, if you do not write a retraction to that, we're going to go with it.
No pickleball.
I do not sign up for this. Okay, let's go.
Although, last thing before we get into it, we should take note of the amount of pickleball we do see anywhere on the floor at Switchback. I think we need to make sure we take note of that. If there's going to be someone's going to have pickleball there next. I think so.
All right.
That's my first prediction. We're going to do predictions later, but that's my first prediction.
We could have the outdoor brand pickleball contest.
Oh my God.
Right.
Well, Olakai's the only one who's like official, right?
Well, they're probably seated number 1 then.
All right. Our top story today is presented by your hub for ultralight gear, garage-grown gear. Head to garagegrowngear.com. Check them out. We're going to do a quick Rock Fight lightning round before we get into our preview of Switchback, because there's a couple of topics that had some updates and some stories this week that we want to touch on. Firstly, we have an update to TARIFF Watch 2025. I feel like we need a sound effect there, Dave.
We do.
Yeah.
We do.
TARIFF Watch.
It's actually the sound of a slot machine.
No, it's like the chink cha-ching in the Trump bank account.
Yes,
as
right.
They get all
There you
the
go.
draft.
That's exactly right.
It's a big account. It seems that in addition to invading America's second largest city this week, guys, Trump made a deal with China, with tariffs settling in at 55% with China. Trump has also said that his July 8th deadline for trade deals is likely to push back. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but Eoin, what do we know about this particular development? Is this good?
It's not awful. What I would say is it's not a deal. Right. I mean, the Secretary of Commerce,
the art of the deal. He's so good at it, though.
I know, but what Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick said was that this is a handshake for a framework for a trade deal. So it's like I mean, it's like a trade deal, as we talked about, actually takes negotiation and time and a lot of work. This is just basically saying, okay, I think we kind of know what we're going to do here. And really, probably the big story for a lot of industries, not necessarily the outdoor industry, is the fact that China is now lifting the export restrictions on rare earth minerals and magnets, which was like crippling the auto industry and some of the defense industry too. But really, I think the big story here is it sounds as if the tariff levels that are here now are going to stick. Now, can you rely on that from the Trump administration? No, but that is what the current story is, and so that means the Trump administration is talking about this 55% number,
Right.
and where they get that is it's the 25% from the prior administration, prior Trump administration, right, which was the Section 232 or 301 tariffs. And then on top of that, there was the 2 rounds of the fentanyl supposed tariffs of 10% earlier this year. And then finally, the 10% reciprocal tariffs that everybody got. So that's where you get to 55. But that's still a shit ton. I mean, that's a lot. Talking to brands that are out there, while there was somewhat of a sigh of relief when the 145% went away, because that was just like there was no getting around that. That was basically just we're out of business. Now it's like we may not be out of business right now, but this is not good. We're going to have to raise prices, et cetera. Because when you think about it, right, like those 55% tariffs are on top of the regular MFN tariffs. So if let's say you made a rain jacket in China, okay, you had a 28% MFN tariff. Let's say back in 2017. Then by 2019, we added on the other tariffs. So now we were at 53%. Okay. And now we're adding another 30% on from 2025. So now we're at 83% tariffs on that rain jacket. So it's still a lot and is quite frankly still unsustainable, but just not insanely unsustainable, just massively unsustainable.
So not to speak for her, but our friend Cassie Abel from Wild Rye, she's been pretty vocal on LinkedIn about the impacts tariffs will have or are having on her business. I mean, she's not really, Cassie's not celebrating today. Even there's maybe a tepid sigh of relief, or not even?
Not even. I mean, really what this is doing is, I think for a lot of companies, it's allowing them enough time to hopefully get through the period during which they move everything out of China. I mean, if they can. And those that are still in China and don't really have opportunities, like the folks who are, let's say, like a BioLite, who basically, if you're in solar power, you're in China. I mean, there are no other options. And so in those scenarios, now at least they kind of know what they're dealing with and can decide how they're going to try to tackle it with price increases or cost cutting or whatever.
Yeah, I know we had a pretty positive experience at GOA Connect this week. Dave, you're there with the brands you were working with. Sounds like you did as well. I did speak to one dealer, though, about the tenor of their meetings, and they asked to not be revealed who it was. But one thing they told me was there's a weird combination of people being positive in the aisles and really stressed in one-on-one meetings. Price changes are going to be huge. Almost everyone is betting on there only being 10% baseline tariffs, and if it's anything else, it's likely to be chaos. Would you concur with that assertion, Eoin?
Right, I think so, because 10%, while not fun, is at least absorbable. But because I think a 10% price increase to the consumer is, I think, as much as you can do in this current environment. If you start talking about 15, 20, 30% price increases to the consumer, then yikes, the demand elasticity is going to be rough. And I think we'll really hear about it and feel it as an industry.
Yeah, and then I know a lot of reports, like, the consumer confidence is not being impacted by the tariffs yet. Like footwear prices are remaining stable. But it's like, yeah, but we really haven't gotten to the point where they have to change. So That's not really good news. We're not quite there yet.
No.
So,
and I think this also gets to, even a lot of these sectors that are made in America that, we think they're going to be immune from it. It's the inputs. It's hard to find anything that has, without some kind of foreign input to it. And so I think there's going to be a rude awakening when those items also start to see price increases, when there's kind of I thought it was only going to be, foreign made versus.
I mean, just look at the outdoor industry. Almost all of the goods that we sold in spring, summer this year were already brought in before the tariffs hit on April 2nd. So we're not really going to see this until August, September. And then it's going to come on like a freight train.
Yeah. And Colin, to your, kind of talking about the more immediate concerns, I thought the reduction in Canadian tourism was probably the bigger even issue, at least for the certain folks up there in the north. But that definitely was even a more concerning topic than even tariffs from the retailer side.
Oh, the retailers are more the tourism being down, and then now they're. I mean, we could just keep going on, right? I mean, now there's new threats to selling off public lands. They're putting up signs in our national parks, like asking you to report on anything negative you hear about, like the founders of the country or Americans in general, or being disparaged. Basically, historically accurate accounts are asking for you to report on that. I mean, there's just all sorts of things that they're all tied together. So.
Yep.
Well, Tariff Watch 2025 will continue, and we'll keep coming back to you as we learn more. Next up, before we get into our Switchback preview, we're going to talk about something we read this week about REI getting a little more casual, potentially.
What was that, Colin?
Did you want to...
Did you say more casual?
Yes, I did. That.
Really?
That was the headline.
Really? Yeah, because if REI gets any more casual, they're going to need to trade in those green vests for Speedos and fanny packs. How do you get more casual?
I thought that was Owen's joke. I'm like, I was trying to tee it up. I didn't know it was yours. You never write anything in the outline.
I know, I don't, but I had
say
to.
that. I am the measured one.
That's true. That was a classic. How casual are they?
That's right. It sure was.
Should we do it again?
Oh.
Well, according to a recap on Shop Eat Surf Outdoor during her conversation with Luis Benitez at the Outside Festival, new REI CEO Mary Beth Laughton told Luis that REI needs to be more welcoming to casual participants. MB, as she goes by, said, quote, we as an industry need to embrace them and really welcome them into the outdoors. For REI, we need to be relevant for someone who's going to climb a 14er, but we also need to be relevant for somebody who's going to take a hike in their neighborhood park. And we need to be able to serve them. We need them to feel welcomed into our industry, end quote. While that is a broad statement, Eoin, you posted about this on LinkedIn this past week. What's the subtext that you're picking up in what MB is saying?
Well, I think it all depends upon how you go about what she's saying. And hey, there hasn't been a bigger proponent for being a more welcoming, inclusive outdoor industry than myself. And not just dating back a couple of years. And we're talking going back 10, 15 years to where, not making just people feel welcome in the outdoors from all backgrounds, skill levels, ethnicities, you name it, right? And I think we still have work to do there. And if this is REI making moves in that direction, then, that is awesome. Okay.
Yeah, kudos for sure.
Right. Absolutely. So I think it really, though, comes down to how. So if it's about, training the green vest to be more welcoming or increasing diversity in hiring and those sorts of things, awesome. Totally great. Right. If it's more inclusive and representative marketing, that's great. But, you don't want to see it too watered down in terms of the brand. Like there was one brand who will remain nameless that we saw at GOA that had, it was, we'll tell you the tagline. You can look it up, but it was from mountain heights to city lights, and it was a woman standing with the glass of Merlot, and it's like, I get it, and that's fine, but really, I mean, let's keep the pinnacle advertising up there, even if ultimately that's where it's going to get used. I think that's a mistake when you make that kind of a shift. The other thing, it could be around how you're laying out the store. Like that was one thought I had, because typically REI stores, at least that I've seen, you go in and it's all backpacking stuff, backpacking food and gear and stuff, which tells everybody like, hey, this is a backpacking store. Maybe that needs to be softened with some more accessible product, apparel, etc. I think where it's a slippery slope, though, is when you start talking assortment and you start saying, well, you know what, we're going to add more running shoes on and Hoka, and we're going to push out more hiking boots, right? We're going to cut out overnight packs so that there's room for travel packs and travel and just regular travel accessories. And we're going to cut out core outdoor brands for really lifestyle fashion apparel. That's, I think, where it gets a little bit trickier, where is that inclusivity or is that watering down of the core mission of REI? So that's the question for me.
Yeah, and I don't want to put words in MB's mouth, and like I said, it was a broad statement. It can be interpreted a lot of ways, and I'm right there with you. I think that is and a lot of the comments sort of reflect this on your LinkedIn posts, and we hear this a lot again about the industry's not as core as it used to be. My contention on that is like, actually, I think it's probably the same. I think it's the way the industry is marketed, and I think it's the way it's what you put out to the what's your public facing image of yourself. We had this conversation with Chris Spire, and he's talking about like, look, MEC is a camp, hike, backpack, climb shop, kayaks, like those kinds of things. And people who don't do those things tend to find their way in because it's aspirational, and maybe they don't do any of those activities, but they still like to shop there. I think there's a general trend to that in the outdoor industry and at outdoor retail, is that even if you are not a participant, it's fun to go in these stores and shop, and then like, oh, and here's a shirt that I can wear too. And so if MB's comments are more like, yeah, we just want to be more welcoming, which is the right thing to say, and we want more people to participate, and this becomes the sort of inside baseball, people who just don't like to hear that are going to be nitpicky about, well, you're saying that you're going to be putting, more casual brands in REI. It's like, well, to your point, like that would be the wrong choice. But I would think brands just need to kind of understand their position of the brand and what makes sense to put out to the public. And if you're a gear brand, you're an outdoor brand, present as an outdoor brand. Yeah. So far, over 50 years, we haven't had any problem selling softer stuff as outdoor brands. So I think that's kind of what it comes down to.
Yeah, and I think that part of the problem is probably most acute actually around women's apparel, because for a lot of women that will come into an outdoor store, an REI or whatever, and be more than happy looking at all of the jackets there in winter. They'll put on the whatever, the puffy from you name it, North Face, Patagonia, Rab, what have you. When it comes to the summer, they won't be caught dead in anything that those brands typically have as the part of their core selection, right? They don't want plaid, they don't want convertible pants, they don't want any of that look, right? Okay, and I think the good news is that there are brands out there that are actually addressing that very issue. Brands that are typically actually by women for women, like Wild Rye, Hiker Kind, Half Days, Scenic, etc., where they're saying, hey, we're going to take performance product, right, that you can use for hiking and all these other things, but we're going to add more style, better fit, etc. But it's still an outdoor brand selling an outdoor product to be used in the outdoors, as opposed to a fashion brand that has outdoor overtones, right? Like a Sendero or a Free People. And I'm not knocking those brands; those are great brands. I'm just saying, if that's what we become, though, as an industry, then I think we have challenges.
Yeah, I guess I bristle is like to say, even if REI goes to the place where you're calling a slippery slope, is the kind of the comments of like, this is why core participation is dropping, and those sorts of comments. It's like, really? Because like Free People would be available in REI, that means that people are going to stop going rock climbing more. I'm like, I just don't buy those dots that are being connected by some people. But ultimately, we'll see how this plays out.
By the way, this is not just an REI conversation, right? In terms of this sort of casualization, lifestyleization, whatever you want to call it, of the outdoor retail. This is happening in specialty. It's happening elsewhere. I don't want people to think we're just picking on REI. It just came up as a topic simply because of the comments that were made.
Right. Yeah. No, it's a good point. Back to our pickleball conversation. I routinely get PR pitches from outside PR companies or agencies for their pickleball line, right? It's like, that is, all my bias aside, like that is showing like they are trying to find new and different things that are kind of playing in the outdoor space. And clearly they saw an opportunity to rep this brand of paddle or whatever. And I'm always very kind, and I just ignore those emails. I don't say anything. I ghost you. That's what I do.
I think this is the tension between inclusivity and trying to be all things to all people. Right. And that's where you get into the brand issue. That's where you get into the assortment issue. I think that REI can be inclusive, and they can have things for everybody along the spectrum of core equipment to lifestyle apparel. Let's just call it that. But how they segment that in the store, how if they're willing to create sections and areas that might be confusing if you're not a core user, and that's okay. Right. Yeah. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's a gatekeeping or something to push away, because they've merchandised the store in other ways, in other areas, for people to feel like they can navigate them through. And in that messaging, it's not a single message. Stop trying to find one message that's going to work for everybody. Let your brand have very deep vertical sides to it that only talk to those type of customers that you have, and just it's harder work. It takes more effort to craft those specific messages. But to me, that's how you navigate something like that and try to be inclusive to everyone, but at the same time not try to be just generic, right?
Yeah. I mean, what it comes down to for me is just because you can sell something to a customer doesn't mean that you should.
Right.
Or the sort of the corollary to that is just because one of your customers buys this thing somewhere else in their life doesn't mean they're looking for it from you, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And maybe
Right.
they come to you for something else and you're special to them for that, not just for all things. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you want to see why we're decided to talk about this today, go check out Owen's LinkedIn page. You should follow him on LinkedIn if you're not already. He's the outdoor industry insider. And a lot of times there's stuff that's kind of just thrown out there that we don't ever talk about on the Rock Fight. There's plenty of times like, 100 people weighed in on this one. Clearly people are interested in this topic. So this is an example. This is one of those. But there is a retailer, guys, that we don't have to ever worry about being soft. You know who that is, right?
would it have the initials G, and then G?
You should ask Shantae Salivera about that. She knows all about GGG. Yes, Garage Grown Gear. They bring you the best in ultralight backpacking gear, from the most innovative to the most quirky. Coffee in paste form? Yes! A special key that opens your bear can lid that doubles as a mini cutting board? Yes! A tiny tool that cleans your tent stakes? That sounds a little unnecessary. Yes! Discover this new gear and so much more over at GGG. Travel there via the link in the show notes. Head to garagegrowngear.com. I was thinking, you know how like sometimes you get a steakhouse and it has like somebody's name in front of it? Like Owen Comerford's like Michigan Steakhouse or whatever.
Sure.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
I think we should change it to Lloyd Vogel's Garage Grown Gear.
Oh.
I think that actually just rolls off the tongue.
It was funny to see Lloyd in person for the first time this last week.
Did you just call Lloyd funny looking?
He's very smooth skinned. Did you notice how smooth skinned Lloyd is? That was the first thing.
That comes from that mountain air, Colin.
I think it is. Yeah.
No,
Yes.
it was weird. I definitely saw a few people this week who I've never met in person. And that's going to happen again next week at Switchback. This is where we've been the last 5-6 years in the outdoor industry.
Oh, right. Doing in-person interviews. It was wild.
It was crazy doing that. All right, the next topic is presented by Lems Footwear, who's looking for retailers to come say hi and see what Lems can offer their shoe wall when they're exhibiting at Switchback this week. Like we said at the top, by the time you hear this episode, we'll be in Nashville for Switchback. Newer listeners may not know this, but news that a new national trade show brought to us by the organizers of the running event broke last year right here on the Rock Fight. But the time for conjecture is at an end because the show is finally here. So let's preview the show. Let's start with who's going. According to show organizers, the show is sold out from an exhibition point of view. Nearly 200 brands will be exhibiting. And if you're listening and wondering, yes, it's the who's who of outdoor brands you'd want to see at an outdoor trade show, but also plenty of small brands. Owen, let's start with you on this. Are you surprised that Switchback was able to pull together this list of brands for year one?
Well, yeah, actually.
Me too.
Right. I mean, we haven't seen a brand gathering like this in a national show for at least 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, 2019.
Even before
18
then,
maybe.
I would. Yeah. I mean, the things had started to slow down in terms of the show. Before that, I would say. So really, as I look at it, what happened here was there is and there was this growing sense within the industry, we need to come together. We're like everyone you talk to all the time, like, we really miss getting together, And then I think the early involvement of OIA and REI, both of those, really kind of, moved the needle, and just everyone sort of said, okay, well, if we're going to give this a shot again as an industry, this is it, and we're going to give it a go. So yeah, I know a lot of folks. And then I think when those big brands joined, a lot of the little guys were like, oh, well, okay, if whatever, North Face and Arc'teryx and Marmot and Merrell and Mountain Harbor, if they're all going to be there, well, I guess I should probably show up too.
Dave, what are you looking for from the brands at this show? I mean, booth sizes are going to be limited. It's year one, right? So this is the first big show where these brands have churned up for a while, at least all together. What will be success in your eyes, and what do you think? What would be disappointment?
Well, I think you guys were just kind of talking about it just a second ago. I think there's the energy, right? Does this create a place where brands want to be, where the industry can connect and kind of I don't know, build some momentum. There's, we talk on this podcast, there's a lot of not great things going on in the economy or the industry itself and trends of just
TARIFF
in general.
Watch 2025.
Right? And, just to have a chance to come together and talk about where this could go in a positive sense and what are we doing right. And I think that's a big need that we've had for a while. I'm also interested in, I like the limited booth concept. I think guardrails foster creativity. So it's like, who is going to take that and run with it in an unexpected way? And somebody's going to do well with it and show people, oh yeah, if you lean into this a little bit, you can really create a standout experience. And but if you're just going to show somebody, putting their hands over their head looking at a sunset, it's going to be a lot of the same.
This is the outdoor industry.
Well,
David.
I know we will
definitely
love us a good sunset, shot from behind. That's right.
What do you think has to happen for you to walk away disappointed in the show? Like next week, what are you going to be like? Oh man, they just didn't get there. Is there anything in particular, or is it? Just gonna be...
I do. I think how much our brands are they just ticking the box and showing up because they feel like they have to? So they send a rep who sits on a stool and looks at their little meager
display. I can't wait to find those guys.
They're going to be there.
Oh yeah, the guy on his laptop.
Totally right.
Like...
So is it that, or are brands putting some creative energy? And again, money isn't the only way that makes that work. It certainly helps, but who's playing to the format and who sees the real value of being there? Because I'm skeptical that orders are going to be written. It's going to be that type of show, just based on the time frame and just all of that. But so how are retailers and brands going to be finding value from that? How are the sales folks going to respond? Right.
Well, good segue into the. Who else is coming, right? The other side of the coin here on attendance is who's coming from the retail perspective, right, in terms of finding value in the show. The only consistent criticism of the show since it was announced, and there's been many, but this one really consistently has been holding it in June. We've seen a list of dealers who are coming, like I mentioned. A few weeks ago, it was okay at best, a little more on the meager side, but it does seem that the most recent report, that seems to be improving. I've never heard a brand or retailer say they want a national show like this to be in June, but yet here we are with the brands and retailers turning up. Eoin, has Switchback successfully called the bluff of the industry by getting these people to show up in June?
Yeah, but I'm not sure for how long, right? I think they get sort of a grace period here. But if ultimately it's just another show that is in June along with everything else and doesn't add a ton of value, then it may be short-lived, quite frankly. So we'll see. And I think we really do the bit, like, we know who's going to be there from a brand perspective. I think the retailer piece is much more we'll see, right? And how is it going to feel, right? Is it going to be like the old days at these national trade shows where you're like, you can barely move through the aisles, right? I don't think we're going to have that, year one, and nor should we expect that. I mean, to be fair to a show, right? You got to give time for these things to incubate a little bit. But will there be a buzz? Will there be an energy? And will it feel like a lively show?
Dave, you work with some brands. What is the vibe of that? I mean, when you talk to the reps who you've had a chance to speak to in the last week, especially being at GOA, any chatter on the retail attendance, on the sort of the prospects for Switchback?
I think it's just such a wait and see. How can anybody really, be that clairvoyant in this, right? Love you sales reps, but most of you are pretty guarded in your comments and if not cynical, right? Do we need another show at all? And June is awful month, and the sky is falling. But no, I think we've there is this. We want this to work. We want a place that we can kind of call our own and point to again, like there was, and we'll see if that happens. And like I said, but the commerce and the functionality have to work together.
Again, good segue. Last week at GOA Connect, Eoin and I interviewed multiple brands. We were on the floor chatting with folks while we were there. We had several brands tell us flat out that the show has to, and this is including a couple who are exhibiting this year, the show has to move to August, including one that said they would possibly spearhead an organized brand effort to voice the desire for the show to move to August. Didn't use the word petition, but kind of sounded like a petition.
Is that like concept of a plan?
It's we have the concept of a
That's
plan.
right.
Yes. After 8 years or whatever that was. So, which is probably pretty similar now. If the show goes well and if we leave Nashville on a high, I mean, do you guys think these efforts get traction? I mean, won't the leverage go to the show, right, at that point? Because if they nail it and they sold it out, next year they come back, why would you want to move it if it worked so well the first time?
Fair point. I think actually, though, and maybe ironically, the lack of order writing at the show, which I think will be the case because that's the kind of show it's going to be for a lot of people.
Nashville shows are, yeah.
Right. Will actually be just further proof that it doesn't need to be in June. Right.
Right.
Now, I think that there's a different expectation for the emerging brands versus the established brands. Right. The emerging brands absolutely want orders. They want to meet buyers. They want to meet the people from Dick's and from REI and from Shields and all these big guys and all the specialty people too. Right. They want orders and they want connections. And you know what? Those orders you can still take those orders in July or August because it's not like you've spent all your open to buy. These are going to be relatively small opening orders that most buyers can fit in at that point because they've made the rest of their orders with the established brands. The established brands, again, they've already seen probably most of these retailers, so it'll be less about writing orders for them, more about did some of the big people come out and did they get to sit down and have meaningful conversations about the business side versus the order side.
Yeah, I always tell the story about learning the value of the national show by my time at Pro Bar when we tried really hard for several shows to get orders at outdoor retailer. And even though we had great reps with you have to give me paper at the show type programs and like compelling programs, right? Retailers just didn't want to do it. And I took that as like, okay, this is not a show where people want to write orders anymore. And we were a small brand. The thing I probably don't say often enough as an addendum to that story is we got the orders after the show, right? It's kind of like, we didn't just say like, well, we didn't get any of those orders. Like all the reps followed up with everybody who were interested in the program. And we decided to, eat a little crow and extend the program beyond the show. And we got the orders. So I think it's a good point for sure.
As a retailer, I've never found once a discount offer is placed, that doesn't
it's
expire.
Out there.
It's out there. It's like
18 months later.
Right. Hey, you were willing to give us an extra 2%.
Yeah.
Then, well, by golly, I'm guessing you're going to give us an extra 2% now.
I found this paper. It says January 1997, 25% off. I think you need to honor this, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, we're going to get into our predictions for the show, but before we do that, be first to experience Lem's bold new product line at the Switchback event in Nashville this week. Get an exclusive preview of their fall/winter 25 lineup, including, but not limited to, the Trail Thrasher, cutting-edge tactical boots, and numerous styles featuring rugged Vibram outsoles. They're stoked to see you there and stoked to show you what's to come. The Trail Thrasher.
Is that a name of a style? The Trail Thrasher?
Name of a cutting-edge tactical boot.
It's a cutting-edge tactical boot, Colin.
Yep.
Okay.
It's featuring rugged Vibram outsoles.
Interesting.
I'd actually be interested in putting those on, given how well Lem's fit. I'm curious what they feel like. We'll see. Maybe they'll have pairs for us to try on.
Like a thrashed trail, Colin. Like a thrashed trail.
God, you know what these feel like?
Can't crash the trail, though. That would be bad.
No, that would be thrashed. It's not trashed. It's thrashed.
Thrashed.
Yeah, that H does a lot of heavy lifting.
Thrashed is overused with love. Trashed is an indiscriminate abomination.
Gotcha.
So my early 20s, I was thrashed.
Yes, right.
Or trashed.
Well, one begets the other, Colin.
Hopefully both in the same night. Anyway.
That's right.
That's true. Yeah, there's a few, for sure. Okay, last section of the pod today. Today's Switchback Spring predictions are presented by Oboz, the pride of Bozeman, Montana, who is also the Cupid to the outdoor world. Okay, so we're, as this airs, we're sitting right now in the future in an air-conditioned hall in Nashville, Tennessee, listening to people like Eoin Comerford give advice to retailers and brands at moderated panels on the day one of the show.
Solid advice.
So I asked... Dude, such good advice. You guys should see what he's saying right now. It's incredible.
Mm-hmm. Let me tell you.
So I asked each of you, Dave and Eoin, to bring one prediction for Switchback Spring. And when we recap the show later this week, we can check in on them and see what comes true. Dave, what's your prediction for Switchback Spring?
There's so many. I predict that there will be a booth that is built entirely from reused and recycled packaging.
Come on, that's not a good. That's like how many of those booths will there be?
You did not ask if it was an exclusive. You just asked for a prediction. So I am saying I could further it down.
It's a good prediction.
Perhaps there'll be a booth with oversized letters made from recycled materials. That could be, right? We could see that. Maybe the combination go together. But I'm just saying, I'm putting it out there. It'll show up.
Yeah, we should tell everybody listening who maybe works on the the booth side of a brand.
Yeah.
This is the last show the Rock Fight will attend without we approve stickers or booth. We are going to be
right.
handing out
Booth
do better or
MacGyver.
we
Booth
approve.
MacGyver will return.
Yes.
Yep,
Yes.
that's right.
The
Trade
next
show
trade
critic.
we will be there.
You bet.
Yeah. If there's no more Bob Awards, we'll be the Bob Awards.
That's right.
And we're not going to be as nice.
We're going to be fair.
Best use of oversized letters.
Yeah, right.
Owen, what's your prediction?
I predict that there will be at least 50 comments during the week that we will overhear about people complaining about the fact that an outdoor industry show is taking place in a fake outdoor setting, i.e. the Gaylord Opryland, whatever the hell it is thing.
Tell the listeners what
I'm
we're
so
going to be dealing
excited
with
for this.
week.
I have to say that's the best part about all of this.
It's like Southeast Vegas or something. Like what's happened?
Have you been to a Gaylord property?
Never.
It's wild. So it's a huge glass enclosed.
It's a holodome.
Dome. It is. It's like a huge glass enclosed dome, all, air conditioned, whatever else. And then there's all of these buildings and what have you, and trees, and, there's rivers and lakes and ponds and all this shit.
It's like Willy Wonka, fake, Colin. Right? You're right. There's a chocolate river that runs into some kind of acid trip.
It really, absolutely. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. Like, I think, I'm sure we're not taking over the whole Opryland thing. If that would be sort of cool, because then it could just like do a total takeover. Like we're not just going to have the whatever they have the gondolas going through the fake river, but we would actually have kayaks, and we would have all we would have people rappelling down the side of the main
a floating
building.
booth
of the Opry.
Right. So so I'm 50 comments is my
that's the over under
on just like
I might take the over. You're right, because as much as I've been a fan, I loved the On Snow demo and the all the stuff in Salt Lake. It's great to have that. Not necessary, right? Like just put the trade show where it's easy to get to. It's a great nice to have, and I guess you can make the argument it's necessary, but someone disagrees with me out there for sure, and I think you're right. I think we're going to hear that quite a bit.
When you asked for a prediction, Colin, one of my predictions was that we will get a load of heartfelt, thoughtful comments and critiques that are contradictory to one another. So that definitely fits right into that as well.
That's it. I mean, in talking with both Sean Smith from Outdoor Retailer and Christina Henderson from Switchback over the last year, those are probably the two hardest positions in the entire outdoor industry, because there is never consensus on the things that they have to make decisions on.
Absolutely not. No.
Right. It is everything is damned if you do, damned if you don't. As I lead into my prediction, the one thing I will say, which is why that kind of supports the prediction I'm going to make, that this is starting to feel kind of like OR used to feel. I've received at least 3 text messages in the last 24 hours. Hey, when are you getting there? Right? We got to meet up for coffee. We got to meet up for beer, which is exactly what would happen before Outdoor Retailer back in the day. Like, where are you staying? Which I thought was kind of funny, because I have friends who were staying not at the Gaylord. Right. I'm like, wasn't that the point? What's the point? So we were all in the same place, but maybe they didn't book it soon enough. So my prediction is I think it's going to work. I think I'm going to say 50-50 it moves out of June is my prediction there. I don't know, but I also don't know I also don't think it'll matter. I think that if the show hits and everyone's cups are filled, if the show doesn't move, people will complain. Maybe there'll be a concerted effort by brands to get them to move. I think the FOMO alone for year 2, especially for the maybe few people who didn't show up, Patagonia, would make it likely that everyone comes back and for year 2. Now, there might not be a lot of appetite to go on beyond that, but I get the feeling, and I was a little cynical last year. I'm like, I don't know. Like, maybe we just don't need this anymore. I think, and I think it's going to be a lot of money for no good reason. But my prediction is I think this will work. So.
It'll be interesting. I think we may get different answers from different constituencies. Like, as I said, the established brands might view it as a success just because we get everyone back together. Whereas the emerging brands who, where this is a big chunk of money to attend. And, if they don't get orders and they don't get traction there, then maybe they don't. So we could see a bit of a separating of that.
Absolutely. And I would love to hear, especially from the emerging brands, myrockfight@gmail.com, or hit us up on LinkedIn or however else. I mean, Eoin owns you probably, so just give him a call. But it's kind of, just, so no, we want to hear, was it worth it? I mean, that's a really good point. I will reverse if all those people are like, yeah, didn't really do it for us. We're going to go back to whatever we were doing before. Then, I will eat some crow on that one for sure. But to Dave's point, knits will continue to be picked no matter what. That is my other prediction. So
it is the outdoor industry, Colin.
Boy, do we love to pick those knits.
That is hardly a tough prediction there.
Well, right, I would add mosquitoes and ticks as well to that. So
Tick Mick, next thing they can work on is knits for the outdoor industry.
Right.
All right, today's episode of The Rock Fight is presented by Oboes, who wants to share their love of hiking, and we want to help them by uncovering all the different reasons we love to take the long walk. Reasons that include the following. Number one, where else can you sweat this much and feel proud of it? If you're the sweaty guy in the gym, that's not a good look. Number two, to escape their inbox and their in-laws. No, nothing, you guys? All right, these are bad. These are bad reasons today. Number three, because, especially if you're Eoin, you enjoy the scent of DEET in the morning. Or what's the new one we found? Mirakai?
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah, the natural anti-DEET one.
Yeah.
Number four, hiking means the Bridger Boot Collection. The Bridger Ridge is here to help you smooth out the rough trails in front of you. With enhanced stability and protection, the Bridger Ridge is Oboes' first boot with Gore-Tex. So bring on the smiles and the miles in the Bridger Ridge. And if you find yourself in or near Townsend, Massachusetts, be sure to stop into Evans on the Common to pick up your very own pair of Bridger Ridges. And then head up the road about 30 minutes to break those puppies in on Pack Monadnock in southern New Hampshire. This hiking appreciation moment is brought to you by Oboes of Bozeman, Montana, certified B Corp, 6 million tree planter, and inhabitant of the greater Yellowstone ecosystem. Oboes is the maker of premium quality footwear and the Cupid to the outdoor world. Oboes, love hiking.
See, those are good reasons, Colin.
Those are very good reasons.
I like those reasons.
Yeah. Don't let our big-time production value and celebrity names fool you. Looking at you, producer Dave, but Rockfight LLC is a small business and growing brand. And even though we have our own consigliere, he advises on other matters, we've got to consult a lawyer every now and then on the legal structures that every business needs. But for a small business like ours, the cost to hire general counsel or pay a retainer is a non-starter. So what's an outdoorsy founder to do? I mean, come on, we're not flashing that outside money. Enter Conatus Counsel. They can help your business with fractional general counsel and legal services, from strategy consulting to advocacy and government affairs to real-world implementation for outdoor recreation industry businesses. Forrest over at Conatus Counsel has helped Rockfight navigate some of these areas, and let me tell you, knowing someone has your back means you can focus on running your business. I mean, he had at least 3 edits to this read to, quote-unquote, protect us from ourselves. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. Forrest cares just as much about the outdoors and the outdoor industry as our listeners. So, got questions? ConatusCounsel.com to get in touch with Forrest. The first 6 hours are free. Wait, what? What? I can't say that? Oh, initial consultations are free. Okay, fine.
It's time for a party shot.
All right, for the parting shot today, I want to announce our first ever Rock Fighter of the Week. It's a new thing. So if you guys have Rock Fighters of the Week, send them in.
Are we going to do this? This is an ongoing bit?
It'll be a bit on when we have one to give out.
Okay.
The Rock Fighter of the Week this week is Maggie Slepian, who is a Bozeman-based outdoor journalist. You've seen her writings likely in places like the New York Times, Lonely Planet, GQ, and Outside. The reason I'm highlighting Maggie, and she's receiving this honor, is because of her brutal honesty. Maggie's a true rock fighter about the state of outdoor media. She has a great post on her Substack about the current challenges of being a writer in modern media and what she has to do in order to pay her bills, which is namely more commerce work and gear reviews, which frustrates her. Mm-hmm. And she has great posts on her Instagram stories and on her Substack. She's doing what she has to do in order to make a career as an outdoorsy journalist, and while pulling no punches while she's doing it. And that makes her our Rock Fighter of the Week. Maggie, I'll link her website and Substack in the show notes, and maybe we'll have her on the pod at some point in the future.
Yes, have her on the pod, Colin,
Yeah.
and she can join yet another media outlet where she can be underpaid for her talents, right?
Happy to participate.
But we're up front about
contribute.
it. We're not
Yes.
hiding anything, right?
Uh-huh.
We know up front.
We
That's
too will
right.
sell out one day and be
That's
completely
right.
sanitized.
There you go. There you go. No,
Never.
really
Never.
great points. Really great article. Even if you're not in the media necessarily, it's just a kind of more of a indicative of kind of what's happening between AI and just corporate pressure and consolidation, and all of these kind of issues kind of come to a head in a well-written and good story.
She's great. I had a chance to talk to her a couple of weeks ago, and I won't say what it was she was reviewing because I don't want to tip it when it comes out. But she's like, "I'm reviewing this thing, and it's driving me fucking insane that I'm reviewing this thing." So I was like, "Yeah, Maggie, you go. We're gonna have you on the show."
Was driving her insane that she had to be doing any kind of reviews, or the thing itself was driving her insane?
I think maybe a little bit of both. We can ask her when we have her on the pod.
Okay,
But
got it.
she's great, and I just love. Again, it's like the thing we hear at the Rock Fight, right? It's just we're just trying to be honest with what we've learned while working in this industry, and I just like her transparency and her own Substack. It's pretty great. So, all right, that's the show. We're gonna check in later this week. I think
before we go, Colin, I would say personally, I really appreciated everybody that came up to us at Grassroots Connect and said hi and said how much they love the pod. That really makes us feel great. I don't know, but if you would say the same, it really does.
Oh, God, yeah.
And so, if you do see us wandering the halls or you're overhear a conversation like, God, that sounds like that Eoin asshole, please, say hi. We just love to hear from you. It
Right.
It just makes us feel good.
And if you do have a critique or criticism, talk to Colin.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's fair.
absolutely.
This was my idea.
Just go.
Like, that's the guy. Go talk to him.
Yep.
No, that's a good point. It's really amazing. We obviously started this because we wanted, people to listen to it, but it's kind of fun now to walk around industry events and kind of understand that I like one person maybe this past week who wasn't familiar with the pod. So we cannot appreciate the support and the love that we get from our listeners any more probably than we do. It's amazing.
Absolutely.
So, all right. Well, hopefully we'll see you at Switchback. I think we're going to try and record something there that'll come out later this week. No Wednesday episode this week. We're at the show until Wednesday, so it's going to be a 2-show week. So look for that probably on Thursday or Friday. We want your emails, like we said. Send them to myrockfight@gmail.com. And The Rock Fight is a production of Rock Fight LLC. Today's episode was produced by producer David Karstad. Art direction provided by That Sarah. For Eoin Comerford, I'm Colin True. Thanks for listening. And back again to take us out is our guy Krista Makes with the Rock Fight song. We'll see you next time, Rock Fighters.
Rock fight.